Kai-Fu, your anecdote is so insightful and helpful, and thank you. And you can get ready to ask him a lot of nice questions. And I also, when you talk about the data, I just thought of one thing, that the collaboration between U.S. and China higher education has reached the point that I checked the data for the last 5 years. In the specific area of science and technology, the U.S. is producing 10 PhD per day in science and technology for the Chinese students. Now, come to the next speaker. Dr. David Chang is the Chancellor of Polytechnic University in New York. He previously served as its president for 11 years. He's an internationally recognized scholar in the field of electromagnetics and one of the most well-known engineering and science educator. David will address China's effort in globalizing its higher education system from a historical perspective and the challenges it faces in education reform, as well as its innovative advances in international collaboration.
Well, I want to save a few seconds since we're giving the mandate to finish our remark in 5 minutes. I have to tell you that when we first talked, Henry and I, we were talking for 3 minutes, but he knew that he couldn't quite hold all these professors from not talking. But he didn't know that he need to reframe Kai-Fu Lee. Anyway, I want to make a few points. The first part is basically the historical perspective and the challenges that I see. I've been going to China, particularly universities, in the last maybe 6 to 10 years. Each year we'll probably make 2, 3 visits. So my context, I have to kind of preface saying mainly these top 100 universities that I have contact with, so it's limited. Having said that, I think the few points I want to make in terms of perspective is one, China in terms of the history in building its modern educational system is rather short. If you think of how they started with the Russian style and then the Cultural Revolution that put everything off, and then later with the financial burden of funding these universities, at the end of the day, I would say the history of seriously building a higher education system is probably the last 10, 15 years, just like what you were referring to, like the Premier Lee, Vice Premier Lee. The second point I want to make is the enrollment, in fact, has grown quite a bit. In some way, if you look at what they achieved in the last 2 decades, they still have some way to go. Now, Kai-Fu told you some of the statistics that are actually more recent. Mine was I digged out those statistics from Department of Education. But surprise, surprise, the most recent data they have is 2002 and 2003. So he would quote 20-some million, for instance, and I only have 9 million in terms of college enrollments. But here lies how fast it is. Okay, I mean that the fact that they didn't publish more recent data, and if you look at these 2 data, it tells a really good story about how fast they expand. But they do have somewhat of a catch-up to do, particularly in rural country. If you look at the cohort of college-age students going into college, the college-age population, back in 2002, it's still like 15%. So no matter how fast this number is growing, by comparison to the developed country, there is still some way to go. The third point I want to make is that the reform of the higher education, in fact, is burdened by some limiting factors, some actually cultural, some structural. And I'll make some few points there. One is the Cultural Revolution. As a result of Cultural Revolution, they basically skipped at least 1 generation of academic leadership. So not until recently, you don't see, the people in the 50s, for instance, you don't see that many real strong academic leaders or above. And now you start to see the 40s and young, early 50s and that kind of leaders coming up. The second point is the university financing, I find is intriguing in that as much as they have improved the support of universities, China universities still, the presidents are harder, the jobs are harder than ours in that there is still this mindset of cradle to grave, that you need to take care of me and my father and my kids. And the retired faculty and staff is actually creating a big burden for many universities that I know. Faculty, on the other hand, and the university, by the way, coming out of the 90s, the university became a lot more entrepreneurial. But as a result of that, often you wonder, why are they doing things that are not really germane to their core mission? And you talk about the fellow you met has a long list of colleges. I met one school in Sichuan, I should be nameless, that actually started, a public school apparently can start in conjunction with private capitals, can start independent colleges. This one state university has over 20